Hello friends, my name is Drishti and you are watching Polity This week by Drishti IAS. In this session, we will be talking about some of the important developments from the polity. When we talk about the last week, we will be seeing some of the topics which has been in the news and which can be important for our examination. So let's start with the discussion over here. So we'll be starting with President's rule in Manipur. Recently, you must have heard that the Manipur's you can say CM has resigned, and after that the assembly was put on hold, and ultimately president rule has been imposed over there. So we will be talking about the president's rule over here because that is an important topic for UPSC. Okay, coming to the next part, that is public account committee. Now recently there was this when we talk about the national highway, the public account committee has made some kind of remarks considering that public account committee was in news. Now since this committee was in news, so that is there are high chances that UPSC might ask you about it. Last year you must have heard about the ethics committee was in news because of one scandal which was there, cash for query. There was this issue which has been raised in the parliament. Now with respect to that, ethics committee was in news, and UPSC has asked a question in 2024 prelims with respect to ethics committee. Okay, now considering that if public account committee has been in the news, so there are high chances that they might ask you about public account committee. Then coming to the next one, free movement regime. When we talk about Myanmar, with respect to Myanmar, this FMR is quite important. That has been in you can say in the news, etc. When we talk about the home ministry, a few months back home ministry has said that they will be terminating this particular regime, and recently they have revised the rules, so we will be talking about free movement regime over here. Okay, then removal of judges. Recently in you can say news, you must have heard about one incident which has happened, that one high court judge from Allahabad has made a remark about a particular community, and after that there was this question which has been raised on the accountability of the judges towards the community and otherwise as well. So, okay, so considering that removal of judges has been in news, so we will be talking about the procedure of removal for High Court and the Supreme Court judges. Okay, now let's move further. Now, before moving further, we will be looking into the context of the news here. President's rule when we talk about. So, in Manipur, you know that since 2023 there was various conflicts which are going on, or there is a violence which is continuously erupting in the Manipur. Okay, the issue or the reason is simple, that there is this issue between the ethnic communities which are living over there, and then there is a developmental disparity which is there, and other than that one issue is of the immigrants, illegal immigrants coming from Myanmar. Okay, so these are some of the issues which were there, and because of which the fresh violence has broke in May 2023, and that continued till now. And recently there was one thing which has happened, that the session of the assembly could not be held. We know that in our constitution there is this provision that in the two session of the assembly or the house, there should not be a gap of more than 6 months. Okay, and in the Manipur this time it has happened that the gap was more than 6 months. Now specifically speaking, you are clear that there is a constitutional provision which is saying that there should not be a gap of more than 6 months in the session of the house. Now the thing is, since this particular provision was not being followed, so it was considered that the constitutional machinery is not working properly, or it has been a violation of the constitutional provision. Considering that, president rule has been imposed over here. Okay, here you can see article 355 to 357 in the part 18 of the constitution, along with the article 356 in the part 19 of the constitution, pertains to the president's rule. Okay, so these are the constitutional provisions which are there in the constitution. Now coming to article 355, the obligation of union to safeguard the states from the external aggression and the internal disturbances. Now to make sure that there is no external aggression, or if there is a external aggression, the center will come to the rescue. Second is the internal disturbances. If that is there, then it is duty or the obligation of center or the union government. Okay, so that is there. Coming to the next one, that is article 356. Now if you look at the article 355, if there is the internal disturbances, okay, so you know that there is this violence which has been going on. Now these words are kind of open-ended words, but right now when we talk about the current situation, that president rule has been imposed because the session of the parliament could not be held, session of the house could not be held over here when we talk about the state assembly over here. Then article 356, it allows president to take over the functions of the state government when the constitutional machinery fails. Now this is exactly what has happened. The constitutional machinery has failed over here to conduct the session of the house. Coming to the next one, Article 357 empowers the president to legislate for the states by ordinance if necessary. And then Article 365 is talking about the consequences of failing to comply with the implementation of a direction which has been issued by the central government. So if there is a direction by the union government which has been given to the state government and they have failed to implement it, in that case also they can go for the implementation of the president's rule. Okay, so these are some of the instances where you can go for the implementation of the president's rule. Now moving further, here you can say there are some common scenarios which are there, like there is no CM elected within the governor's prescribed time. Governor has given a particular time and in that particular time CM was not elected, so in that case also you can go for the president rule. Coming to the next one, collapse of the coalition government leading to the lack of majority, and because of which also there can be president's rule. Then no confidence motion is there, that because of the loss of the majority there is a no confidence motion which has been passed in the house of the state assembly, so that is also one condition. Then postponement of the election, because of some circumstances election could not be held, in that case also there will be a, you can say, president's rule. Okay, now here you can see that president's rule, there is the infographic which has been given, that article 356 of the Indian constitution is talking about the president's rule. Now when we talk about the duration is 6 months. Okay, that can be extended to 3 years. Okay, every 6 months you have to get the approval and you can extend up to 3 years. But if you are extending beyond 1 year, there are certain condition which is there, which we will be seeing in the next one. Okay, now when we talk about the approval has to be taken from the both of the houses. Okay, we will be talking about that as well. And when we talk about the how can it be imposed, we have already seen that there are two things, three grounds which we have seen. And after that what will happen is that either president on its own can go for the imposition of the president's rule if the constitutional machinery fails, or there is a report which has been given by governor to the president that the constitutional machinery has failed, and now that is why you have to impose the president's rule. That is the, you can say, criteria. Then coming to the next one, who will be handling the executive authority? So that will be exercised through governor by the central. Okay, so central government will be exercising the executive authority by appointing a governor over here. Governor will already be there, but the thing is, the directions will be given to the governor over here for the executive authorities. Okay, then parliament's role, parliament will be making laws over here. Parliament will be going for the approvals of the you can say president's rule over there. New provision which has been added here, we will be talking about this particular provision in the next slide. Here you can say parliamentary approvals and the duration. Requirement, if we talk about, so here the requirement of the approval is there and that should be within the 2 months. Now let's say you have started, or you can say imposed, the president's rule on the 1st of January. Okay, so within 2 months you have to take the approval from the both the houses of the parliament. Okay, so that is there, that is one thing. Now let's say if Lok Sabha is dissolved, Lok Sabha is not there. Okay, in that case you can take the approval from Rajya Sabha, and whenever Lok Sabha meets for the first session, after that within, you can say, that particular period of 30 days you have to get the approval from Lok Sabha. Now simple it is there, that if Lok Sabha is dissolved, you have to take the approval from Rajya Sabha, and the moment Lok Sabha you can say commence their first session, okay, within 30 days you have to get the approval from the Lok Sabha as well. Okay, so what you have to remember is that in the normal situations you have to take the approval within 2 months. If Lok Sabha is not there, you have to take the approval from Rajya Sabha, and within 1 month after the, you can say, Lok Sabha getting assembled, you have to take the approval from Lok Sabha as well. Okay, so that is there. Initially when we talk about this particular president's rule, that was valid for 6 months only. Okay, extendable up to 3 years with the 6 months extension. Every time with 6 months you have to take the approval. Now after 44th Amendment Act, okay, restriction has been imposed that beyond 1 year, if you are extending the, you can say, president's rule, there should be some reasons. Okay, the reason is, first is national emergency is enforced in the state. Either national emergency is there, or election commission has certified that election cannot be, you can say, commenced at that point of time. So considering that, you can go for the extension of the president's rule beyond 1 year. Okay, then revocation, president at any point of time can revoke it, or otherwise also, if we see, if the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha is not approving it, that means that president's rule will come to an end. Okay, so that is about president rule which we have talked about. Okay, now let's move further. Before moving further, I would like to tell you that ISGS foundation course for prelims as well as mains is being offered by the Drishti IAS at our new center, that is Noida sector 15. Offline batches for English medium are starting from 17th of February, and for Hindi medium it is starting from 21st of February. address is given. If you need to go through some kind of information, or you want to enroll in the you can say this particular course, you can directly visit the center, or you can call on this number, that is 87501 for any kind of query. Okay, now let's move further to the next one, that is Public Accounts Committee. Now Public Accounts Committee was in news. That is not important why it was in news, because there was some comment, or you can say some remark, which has been made by the committee on the national highway. Okay, but that is not important for our examination. But just know that the Public Account Committee was in news. So let's talk about this. Now, a parliamentary committee is responsible for auditing the revenue and the expenditure of the government of India. Now, this is the job of the parliamentary committee over here. Then acts as a watchdog on the government spending, examining the CAG's reports. Okay, so here when we are talking about this, when I'm saying that the parliamentary committee over here, we are talking about the public account committee over here. Okay, so that is the watchdog for the government spending, examining the comptroller and the auditor journals, that is CAG's reports. Okay, so they will be looking into the reports, they will be scrutinizing the reports. Okay, other than that, they ensures parliament's grants are utilized properly. Okay, whatever funds has been given, that are being utilized properly. Okay, so that is about the working of the PSC. Now when we talk about the past, how it was established, so in 1921 PSC was established, and PSC examines the government's expenditure and the ensures accountability in the public spending. That is normal. Then coming to the membership, there are 22 members, 15 are from Lok Sabha and 7 are from Rajya Sabha. Okay, it is always chaired by the member of the opposition. Now this is not always the case, but the thing is, generally in the recent past it has been seen that there is a convention. Okay, we will be talking about that now. We will be looking into this particular point again. Okay, coming to the next one, the PSC review audit reports come from CAG, and the recommendation corrective measures to improve the governance or the finance related aspect of the governance. Okay, so what they are saying is that will be reviewing the audit reports from the CAG, or other than that also they will try to make recommendations which are making improvement in the finances of the government. Okay, so that is about the PSC. Here you can see membership, we have already seen 22 members, 15 from Lok Sabha, 7 from Rajya Sabha, elected through the proportional representation with a single transferable vote. Okay, this particular procedure, that similar procedure is followed for the election of the president as well. Then coming to the next one, term will be 1 year. Then chairperson appointed by the speaker from the Lok Sabha members. Okay, who will be appointing it? Speaker. Since 1967-68, member of opposition has been conventionally appointed as the chairman. So here you can say conventionally, generally after 1967-68, the member of opposition has been appointed as the chairperson over here. Okay, so that is a convention, not always. Okay, coming to the last part over here, ministers cannot be members, because here you can see they will be going for the scrutiny of the public finances, and that is why ministers are not allowed to be member of it. Okay, now next, that is free movement regime. Okay, so when we are talking about the free movement regime, that is between India and Myanmar. Now when we talk about the border areas, there are few families which are along the border. So considering that, and considering our relations with the Myanmar and the Act East policy, etc., we have started this free movement regime. Earlier what used to happen is that, let's say if that is the border, okay, if we talk about, let's say this is the border, okay, this is Myanmar, this is India. Now people were allowed to cross this border, okay, for a particular period of time. They can stay over here and they can go back. Okay, for that there are certain kind of passes which are to be given to them. Okay, now this is to make sure that the community ties are fine over here, and since we had the friendly relations, so that was fine. But later on what happens is that there was this military junta government which took over in the Myanmar, and after that there was this civil war, because of which various people started to move across the border in India. They started to move inside India, and that was the problem of illegal immigrants which has started in the vicinity of this particular region when we talk about the border areas over here. Okay, now considering that, the Home Ministry has decided they might terminate the free movement regime. Okay, but recently some kind of change has happened, so we will be talking about that. Okay, so here you can see free movement regime. 22 out of 43 crossings point along the Myanmar border are operational. Okay, so these are the crossing points. There are total 43 crossing points. 22 are operational over here. Manipur, when we talk about, so there are 10 gates which are functionable in the Manipur state only. Okay, Mizoram and Nagaland 5 gates each. Arunachal Pradesh 2 gates, and the Assam Rifles is basically assigned to you can say monitor the cross border movements over here. Okay, so this you can remember, that is Assam Rifles are responsible over here. Okay, why is that? In the Arunachal Pradesh, we are having this border. We have border with Nagaland. We have when we talk about the Myanmar border, we have border with you can say Myanmar through Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram over here. So Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. These are 4 states of India which are basically having a border with Myanmar. Okay. Now through these particular areas, we are having this free movement regime. Okay. Coming to the part that what is this free movement regime? Now, free movement regime allowed people from both sides of India and Myanmar border to travel across 16 kilometers. Now, this particular distance is variable because in various different phases of time it has been different. Okay, so that right now when we last checked it was 16 kilometers, but recently it has been changed again. So that is there. So India Myanmar border to travel 16 kilometer into each other's territory without a visa, but a border pass will be there, and that border pass will be valid for 1 year, that allowed a stay up to 2 weeks per visit. Okay, so a person who is coming from Myanmar over here, and if they are having a border pass, they can stay here up to 2 weeks. Okay, and this border pass is valid for 1 year. Okay, so that is the free movement regime which was there, and that allowed people to move across 16 kilometer over here and 16 kilometer over here as well for trade or family related ties, etc. That was there. Okay, now if we talk about the Indo-Myanmar border, that is 1643 kilometers long, and it is passing through Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, and Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, moving further, Myanmar conflict and the refugee influx. When we talk about this particular area, I told you that the military junta rule, which has been started since February 2021, and after that there was this you can say illegal immigration which has started into India through Mizoram and Manipur. Which community is coming? That is Chin. Chin refugees are entering into India. The evolution of FMR, if we talk about, so it was first started in 1968 due to the ethnic and the familial ties across the border. Okay, so that is the time when we started it. After that, there are various changes which has happened. In 1968, that was 40-kilometer free movement limit. Okay, right now, last time it was 16 kilometer, and it has been changed recently to 10 kilometers. Okay, so that you should remember, 1968 it was 40 kilometers, then 2004 it was reduced to 16 kilometers. In 2016 additional regulations were enforced over there, and in 2025 reduced to 10 kilometers, which you should remember. Other than that, in 2025 additional you can say restrictions has been put over here, so that there is less influx is there from the illegal immigrants. Okay, so to better management of the issue, they have put some restrictions over here, and the limit has been reduced to 10 kilometers. Okay, now let's move further to the next one, that is removal of the judges. So here if we talk about the removal of the judges, I told you the context initially. Now let's come to the constitutional safeguards and the provisions over here. So article 124 clause 4 of the Indian Constitution talks about the removal of judges in for the Supreme Court, and article 218 of the Indian Constitution talks about the removal of the judges from the High Court. Okay, so let's see. Article 124 clause 4, the article outlines the removal process for Supreme Court judges, which is applicable to High Court judge as per article 280. Now what are the grounds? There are two grounds which has been mentioned. One is proved misbehavior, second is incapacity. Okay, now these words has not been defined in the constitution, but over the time we can see that there is an interpretation, that is proved misbehavior means that action or conduct by a judge that breaches the ethical and the professional standards of the judiciary. Okay, coming to the next one, incapacity, a judge in inability to perform judicial duty due to the physical or the mental infirmity. If there is some kind of issue because of which physically or mentally he is not able to perform the duties, in that case that will be incapacity. Okay, so that is the you can say two basis on which a judge can be removed. Okay, now what is the removal procedure over here? So let's see. So when we talk about the removal procedure, you will be seeing that the article 124 clause 4 is talking about that. Article 218 is talking about the High Court. Article 124 clause 4 is talking about the Supreme Court judges. Okay, now this is just they are talking about the two grounds. But when we talk about the removal procedure, the whole process has been given in the Judges Inquiry Act 1968. So let's see the process now. Okay, so the process is that when we talk about the initiation can be there in both the houses, that be it Rajya Sabha or be it Lok Sabha. If you are initiating a motion in the Lok Sabha, then you require sign of 100 MPs over here. And if you are initiating the process in Rajya Sabha, then you are requiring a sign of 50 MPs over here. Okay, so that is one condition. Now what happens after that? After that, speaker will be taking the motion, and then if accepted, then there will be a committee which will be formed over here, that is committee of inquiry, that will be formed. 3 members will be there. One will be the CGI or the judge of the Supreme Court. Okay, if there is a removal of CGI which has been talked about, so there will be a Supreme Court judge, High Court CJ, and the distinguished jurist which will be there. So that is the case. If it is about the removal of a judge of Supreme Court, in that case the CGI and the High Court Chief Justice and the distinguished jurist will be there. Okay, now this distinguished jurist should be a person which is distinguished jurist in the eyes of the president. Okay, so that is there. What is the task of this particular committee? Task is to investigate the charges. Okay, now they will investigate the charges, they will examine the evidences, they will cross examine the witnesses, and the reports findings will be sent to the chairperson of the house. Okay, so they will be sending it to the chairperson of the house. Now coming to the next one, the what will happen after that. Okay, so now if this particular committee is finding the judge guilty over here, now that motion will be put to vote. Okay, and if they found that particular person has no guilt, in that case the proceedings will be dropped. Okay, so that is there. If the committee finds no guilt, the proceedings will be dropped. If they find them guilty, so what will happen is that the parliamentary vote will take place. Okay, now it will be a particular majority, a special majority will be required over here while they are going for the voting. That is a special majority, wherein 2/3 majority of those who are present and voting, that will be counted, and 50% or the half 50% majority of those who are total members. Okay, when we are talking about the total membership, 50% will be taken, and 2/3 of the present and voting is the requirement for the, you can say, passing this particular motion. Okay, so here approval by 2/3 of the members present and voting and 50% of the total membership in both the houses, that will be considered. And now once they have passed the motion or the resolution over here, then they will be sending it to the president, and president will be signing a removing orders. Okay, because president is the authority who will be removing the judges over here. Okay, so I hope that is clear. That is the removal procedure. So we have talked about certain things over here. That is, we have talked about the removal of judges, we have talked about the free movement regime, we have talked about the public account committee, and we have talked about the president's rule in Manipur. Okay, so I hope that is clear. With that, we'll be moving to the last part over here. Before that, I will have an announcement to make, that if you are talking about the prelims 2025, it is coming closer and closer, and if you want to crack it, so one tool is there, that is your PYQs. PYQs are very much important for you, and considering that we are bringing you UPSC prelims PYQ series, so that you can actually master over the PYQs. So we will go for the in-depth analysis, we will use some elimination techniques, we will try to make sure that your concepts are clear over here. So with that, we are bringing a series for you starting from 15th of February. Every night we will be coming at around 9 p.m. So stay tuned with us, and in the end we have a practice question for you. Which Indian ministry decides on matter related to the FMR? Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Okay, so you can attempt this question and answer to me in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next session. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.